What is the number one thing that makes a relationship successful? According to CNBC's article, it's turning toward each other, not away from each other. We'll explain here on this Monday at 10 o'clock.
Look at that. Look, we're in success. Success.
That's how we make it successful. Also, we're going to talk about Mike Pence's new book, which is out, and we were the first Indiana TV station to get an interview with the former vice president. Came by the station today. We spent 30 minutes talking to him. Among the highlights of this one-on-one interview that you will hear tonight, him talking about the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, what it was like for him to be in there, and also what was it like for him the night of the vice presidential debate when the fly landed on his head. I have never heard him talk publicly about it. I left it for the very end of the interview. He's got a very interesting story about the fly, all to come here on this 10 o'clock
I
news.
know. I'm so glad you asked that.
Yeah, so it was a fun day. So
can we say this book is thick?
It's a rather
This is a thick book, you guys. Look at that.
Yeah, it's called So Help Me God, and I had 50 pages left to go this morning before the interview, and I had 4 toddlers. I had my 4 grandkids with me today. I was getting nothing done, and it was loud and crazy and chaotic. So I was able to finish this before the former vice president came by. So anyway, we'll get to that coming up in a moment.
Okay, that's good work, Scott. This is 12-point font. I mean, what were you? Are you a fast reader, or I know you got experience with the good book.
We'll get into more of that coming up, but it was a very good book.
Okay,
so we'll talk about that coming up in a moment, but want to get you set because it's Thanksgiving week.
Yes. We need a whole rundown, Angela, because people have big plans on Thursday.
Yes.
True. Then Circle of Lights on Friday.
Yes.
And then Saturday, I don't know what folks are doing, but it's going to be big. They got to do
bucket game week.
It's football
on Saturday.
Game. Yes.
Yeah, we got Purdue IU
down at Memorial.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the run, the Thanksgiving trot, isn't there?
Turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning.
Dash.
We got a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Well, gosh, and the weather couldn't be better. At least leading up to the holiday, we've got sunshine today, made it into the low 50s. More sunshine tomorrow, low 50s. And we're going to go even warmer on Wednesday. By the way, our average high has dipped now to 49 degrees, so we're going to go back above average after a rather cold week and a half. Temperatures on Wednesday will be in the mid-50s, and we will near 60 degrees on Thanksgiving Day. I thought I'd give you kind of a big view of Future Track 13 because traveling, not a problem tomorrow. There's a little disturbance across South Florida. Could have some minor weather-related delays there. Could have a few minor weather-related delays later in the day, Wednesday night into Dallas-Fort Worth, a big airport. They're going to be dealing with a rain chance, and that's the rain chance that we'll get here, but not until Thursday night. So if you have like state of Indiana travel plans, or you're going to Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, you're going to be just fine until later Thursday night into early Friday. That's when we get our rain chance. And really no sign of any major cold air. Felicia has her first circle of lights.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night on Friday.
Yes.
So that was her first question today.
Yeah, I don't want to be out in the cold.
Yes, I understand. And it doesn't really look cold. It looks like appropriate late November chill.
Yeah, good.
You know, just to be festive enough, but not long underwear chill.
Okay, and I chuckle because you're giving a forecast for the entire Midwestern East Coast.
Well, and we don't usually do that.
For people traveling.
But people are traveling. So yes, most people just like to see Indiana. But you know, since we're leading up to the holiday, they might be curious.
You going to the Pacer game on Friday night? You really need to be doing the double.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. My brother said he made plans with one of his friends to go to the game.
Does that mean that you're going?
No, he made plans with someone else to go.
Oh my goodness, that's the double. You go to the Circle of Lights and then you walk down to Gainbridge Fieldhouse and get the Pacer game. They start
this
it
is
late.
a thing.
It is a thing.
Oh,
yeah.
No, it's like people do that. They know this. And
they actually start the game later so people can go from Circle of Lights to the Pacer game. So you got to work your contacts for Pacer tickets.
Yeah. There you go.
I might be able to work something out.
There you go. All right, we'll get back and talk a little bit more about the weather coming up. Let's keep Angela here, talk a little bit about this Mike Pence interview that we got today. Former vice president has written this book called So Help Me God. details a number of things, including his congressional career here in the state of Indiana, his time spent as our Indiana governor, and of course as the 48th vice president, serving under former President Donald Trump. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask him today during our 30-minute time together was, what was the January 6th riot like for him? Because remember, he's in the U.S. Capitol as this is all going down. These protesters becoming violent, storming inside the Capitol, this insurrection. So I asked the vice president today what he thought.
I mean, I was angry, Scott. I was caught in the thought as I looked at those scenes that not this, not here, not in America. But in the midst of all of that, I tried to put that anger aside. I tried to put my differences with the president that day aside and work the problem. When a tweet came across shortly after 2 o'clock that the president set out, saying that I lack courage, it was clear to me he had decided to be a part of the problem. I was determined to be a part of the solution. In that moment.
And so you remember the vice president was there trying to certify the election results, and he had to go down into the loading dock where a bunch of cars were, and he and both members of Congress are down there, and he refused to leave the U.S. Capitol. They ended up clearing the building of those protesters, the rioters, the mob, and he went back in, and they were able to certify the election results for Joe Biden. He said that President Trump never called him on January 6th. And the two leaders ended up meeting at the White House in the dining room where they had had lunch so many times during their 4 years together. And he said that at that point, he and the president had a conversation about January 6th. And the president asked about how Mike Pence's wife and daughter were doing, who were at the Capitol during the riot. And he talks at length about being angry about the entire situation and angry with the president. And he said that they...
In the midst of my debate with Kamala Harris on national television, that I remember seeing a fly buzz by on the stage. But after the debate was over, I felt we'd given as good as we'd gotten, as we say here in Indiana, and I stepped off the stage and was greeted by my family warmly, who had kind things to say about how their dad had done. And then my daughter-in-law, Sarah, looked at me and said, "Did you see the fly?" I said, "Yes, I had." And she said, "Did you know that it landed on your head?" I said, "No, of course not." And we all had a good laugh. And I told people that we had a plexiglass wall on the stage, but it wasn't even big enough to stop a fly. But I did say to my daughter shortly thereafter, I said, when I get to glory and after I thank the Lord for all the blessings in my life, I'm probably going to ask him, the fly, was that really necessary?
He had a good sense of humor about that. That's how we ended our 30-minute interview. And of course, that was the fly incident. I've never heard the former vice president talk publicly about that.
No.
He does mention that in the book briefly. So I asked him about it, and he's got a very good story and a very good sense of humor. So anyway, the book is available. It's called So Help Me God. And I want to thank Mike Pence for making Channel 13 the first Indiana interview today and spending 30 minutes. We're going to have more for you tonight at 11 o'clock on that.
Did President Trump ever apologize for putting him and his family, you said his wife and daughter were there?
Did not appear to have any, he made no mention of any apology. He said that they were able to work out their relationship before they left office at the end of January and were able to basically go their separate ways. And Pence says that when Trump began, in his words, the rhetoric about the election results, he felt like that was sort of it.
Yeah.
So he says, over the course of the months since they've left office, there'd be an occasional phone call, but, he said that he believes that there will be better choices come the presidential campaign in 2024. And when, of course, I asked him, "Are you going to run?" He said, "Well, this is the first time that he and his entire family will be together in 3 years over the holidays.
Oh, wow.
They're going to talk about it and then have maybe a decision made in January."
Okay.
Wow.
So we'll see.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ask him if he was having turkey or ham?
Did not ask him that.
Mac and cheese?
You
yeah,
know what?
yeah. Is he having the mac and
my
cheese?
guess is they probably do work that into the.
They probably have.
We
it.
talked
turkey
about this last week, and Felicia talked about how much she loved the mac and cheese. Now, are you adding it to your
Well, I'm not
Thanksgiving
cooking,
table?
so I can't really tell.
That's
him what
right.
to
Susie's
do.
doing it,
Susie,
right?
Aunt Susie's doing it.
so
So
funny.
I'm not.
Yeah, but no, not to gloss over your interview there, Scott. I'm so glad you asked him about the fly. I am very curious to see what his response is going to be because,
Yeah.
of course, I try to read people's body language when you ask him if he's
Right,
running.
right,
I'm
right.
very curious of what
Yeah.
he's going to say specifically.
Yeah.
So we can get down to it, but
More
it should
on
be
that tonight.
interesting.
In fact, Fulton wanted to know what is your favorite Thanksgiving food. He's putting this on Facebook tonight, and I haven't yet responded. But is it mac and cheese? 'Cause
It
we
is,
did talk
absolutely.
about this last week, right?
Absolutely. Mac and cheese, ham, greens, sweet potatoes, and if you can mix it all together and it touches on a plate, because I'm an adult, I like that.
Okay.
I'm an
I'm an
adult.
adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, before we run out of time, Felicia found this really interesting article on CNBC. What is the #1 thing that makes relationships successful? And according to some psychologists that interviewed couples to find out what makes the relationship work, according to 40,000 couples, will a marriage last depends on one thing: how often a couple turned toward each other instead of away. And so here's what we want to ask you. Your partner, scrolling their phone, remarks, "Oh, this is an interesting article." So what is your reaction when your partner says this? You can respond in one of 3 ways. You can turn toward, acknowledging them and engaging with their attempt to connect. "Oh yeah, what's it about?" You can turn away and actively ignore or just not notice their attempt to connect.
Yeah.
You can keep typing your own email you ignore. That's turning away. Or you can turn against, irritably or angrily shutting down their attempt to connect by saying, "Can't you see I'm trying to work?" So what do you do?
What if you've done all 3 of those,
Yeah.
though?
Yeah.
All in one?
What if you're trying to work?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
All right, so your husband asks you, "Hey, I just found this really interesting thing." Do you turn toward Mark,
Well,
away, or against?
I think I would prefer Mark actually says that rather
Yeah.
than text me the link,
Oh, I see.
because
okay.
then I'm probably not going to read it.
Yeah.
Okay. But if the two of you, I guess, are sitting in the family room together,
Yeah, I would be interested.
you would engage.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a successful marriage. We already knew that.
So far, so good. 24 years and counting.
There you go.
I mean, you guys are the experts. So 24 years, and then how long have you been married, Scott?
36.
Okay.
Yeah. So what about you? So Felicia, you and Teddy, you're having a conversation.
Yes.
And you say, "Teddy, boy, this is really interesting." Does Teddy turn toward or against or away?
I don't know. Where's the ignore one?
Well,
What
I
does
guess
that happen? What happens if you
well,
get ignored?
I suppose that's the turning away.
away.
You keep,
The turning
Teddy
away.
says, "I've got something I want you to read," and you say,
Hey, I'm talking to you. Hey. But I also, want attention for other things too, and I also want him to look at my latest dance. I want him to look at.
So you better start paying attention to his articles.
I want it. You can't get attention for everything.
Right.
No. I agree with that. I think our first reaction would be to be interested.
Yeah.
But
right.
I just think that's interesting. I guess they're saying, okay, you said during couples counseling. What are some other things that you think would make a successful marriage? Like, what would be the one piece in your
Oh, my
experience you
gosh.
think? For me, I was gonna say, if you genuinely like that person, I think we've all seen couples that
Yep.
they may love each other, they may be committed,
Right.
but they don't like their
Don't like and
spouse
respect.
and like how you talk about your spouse.
Yeah.
I think that matters.
Well, I think if you like and love hanging out together,
Yeah.
I just love hanging with Janae. I'm
Shared
always,
meaning.
yeah. Look, I read that book, The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah, yeah.
And time spent is like one of my love languages. So when
Yeah.
I'm spending time with Janae, that's when I love that.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Shared meaning.
Yeah.
So making sure that, it's not just about if you have children or don't have children. It is not just about them.
Yeah.
That you have your own connection and shared meaning, because eventually those children leave.
Yeah, they do.
I'm an empty
Yeah.
nester, and we have,
Right. I can tell you, though, they come back.
They do. I'm so
And then
happy
they bring
for you.
grandkids,
I'm
which
so
is
happy for
awesome.
you this week.
Yeah, it is amazing to see this phase of your life. Not that I knew you before, Scott, but it's awesome to see this phase of your life because
Oh, man, being
it's
a
not
grand-
something that I've witnessed from this perspective.
Yeah,
So it's cool
yeah.
to see.
Excited for you.
All right, so got a lot coming up tonight at 11, including our long-term forecast. How's tomorrow looking?
Tomorrow looks great. Sunny, low 50s. We're sunny, mid 50s on Wednesday, and we near 60 on the holiday.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, all
Awesome.
right. We're going to get Felicia some Pacers tickets so she can do the double on Friday. Thank you for joining us tonight on Monday. Let me just quickly read a couple of names. Victoria,
yeah.
good to have you with us. Marcy is with us. Teresa, 43 years. In
No!
Teresa, way to go.
She's the winner
That's
tonight,
awesome.
I think.
Monica, Kelly, Fulton, Joyce from Versailles, Ralph back with us tonight. Yeah, it looks like Ralph's been together over 53 years.
Okay, Ralph's
so
now the
Ralph,
winner.
way to go. Terry, Dan, so great to have all of you watching tonight. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you over on 13 in about 45 minutes. Good night.